Sorry, somebody? No. So welcome to the second ever monthly Scrum for Gita Germany. And the way we do this, just like last time, is that we look at or ask the lead. I hope there is a lead from each group. What was achieved, what happened in the last month, what is planned to do next in the coming month, and are there any blockers on a technical side and also on the team side that we can work on. After that, we will look into the blockers and have a discussion around them to see how we can solve them. And then there will be open space for anybody who wants to come in and offer support in any type of way for Gita. So it depends on us whether all of this takes 30 minutes or 3 hours. I'm fine with either. So with that, let's head on. I will take notes. So if you see me typing, that's what I do in the Notion document. So you can look at the Notion document in real time and see what I'm writing. Also feel free to help me in that if you want to, if you see that I'm missing something. So group number 1, making impact mainstream, MIMS.
Yes, thank you.
Hey.
Okay, it's us, and also from the lead team here, there is Ulf. Hello. And here, I don't see anybody else from the MIMS team. I was just looking at it, but it's really tricky to find it here on my screen. And okay, so thank you. We made some progress, and I think everything's documented. So the first thing that we did is organize ourselves from the lead team. So we have a weekly meeting every Friday. If somebody wants to join the meeting from the other groups, just for listening or so, just send me a mail or give me a sign on Slack, and I'll invite you. But that's on Friday, and that is the first thing. Second thing is that we organized our OKRs in a group OKR part. So there is a reference from the global OKR part to the local OKR part, and in that local OKR part you will find our 3 objectives that we defined. So to go a little bit over the results here, objective 1 is in fact preparing a SWOT analysis of the Gita Germany view on the tech ecosystem. Therefore, we held some sessions. The first session already took place, so we recorded the basics, and now we move on to the other KRs listed there. And the results then, till I would probably say it's basically within the next
René, just
week,
one question. Is it possible for you to share your screen or share?
Yeah, I can share my screen. Hopefully I can do that. Let's see.
You should.
I should. Where it is? Notion. There. If I give. So now you see my Notion screen, hopefully.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, wonderful. So that is the, so just to let you know, this is the overall OKR. The OKR is now referenced to the OKR in our group. That is the reference point here. And I'm in the document here, the OKR group 1 MIMS. So that is basically the objective 1, what I was referring to. So that is the SWOT analysis part. You'll find the results here in that document. Second objective is the map of the ecosystem and its different actors. We had more than one session here, and basically with every other objective. We did a review after the first sessions of the KRs and the deliverables necessary, due to the fact that I think it's also something iterative in progress here, because of course the KRs can change if we find out that something is missing or so. So keep an eye on the changes here too. So now we had the sessions here, and we move on, you see, over the next week, now to the parts, the actor definition, and then let's say the ecosystem map that will be the final deliverable till end of those months. I probably, but I come later to that, think that this probably is a timeline that is to be discussed, but nevertheless, yeah, of course, but nevertheless, that is the outcome. And the objective 3, of course, is in fact to do that overspanning topic of what is the image and where do we have to position it, and ultimately to come out with a kind of a strategy or campaign proposal. What do we have to do for making this, or let's say for making an attractive or painting an attractive picture for impact investing for the different active groups. So that's basically the objective 3. And I'm quite happy with the timeline here. So probably mid of August. So in about 4 weeks, hopefully we have something as a deliverable here too. So to come back to that one, the results of the sessions and the results then later on will be linked here in the OKRs part. So that is how we work in our group. So to the next point, of course, you will find our meeting notes also from our sessions here, from the MIMS lead team meetings, etc. So if you want to read something about it, please refer to the meeting notes here. So what is the obstacles that we've seen? I think the major obstacle is, and that's nothing which is really surprising, summer has come and the vacation season is. And so we are I would say there's very few people really reacting on Slack and to our requests. There is a kind of community of, let's say, about 5 to 6 persons frequently responding, reviewing topics. Thank you, Elke, by the way, for your comments, and also from other groups. But basically, it's really tough motivating people participating in the session calls and in the comments, etc., etc. So yeah, that is something that I want to stress out. And of course, some good things is we also, as I said, had a stress test regarding the lead situation. And it's good to have more than one leader in the group because of the situation that everybody has with his own work, with the primary work, and of course the vacation situation right now. But overall, I would say Ulf and Bettina, that I know from our group, I think we made progress. I think under the circumstances that this is not our primary role working for Gita, we made some progresses, and I think we will have some deliverables to show or to discuss then in our next Scrum session, because then at least 1 or 2 objectives went through, so we can focus probably on discussing the next KRs or the next objectives then. That's so far about me. Ulf, Bettina, have any additions to that?
No. I agree. It's all set. Yeah.
Any questions from the others? Kai.
Yeah, thanks. First question would be from my side. I think I belong in this group. I just sent you a short chat message, and that's basically why I'm here right now, because I want to be I want to involve myself a little bit more in Gita, and we want it's first of all, it's a question because you know about us and you know about the climate track. So making entrepreneurs climate activists in a like also in a like economically sustainable way, and I would like to have an exchange about this, and not only this initiative, but the initiatives that I want to support and create in the Gita network. So the question, first of all, is like, should I just join your group and we discuss about this a little bit more? René, that was directly to you first.
Yeah, okay, of course you can join us. I think you
impact entrepreneurship. Like, is this in your like mainstream? I think it is, but no, that's I'm not sure about this yet.
I think the positioning, or the question of the positioning here is, especially with focus on Germany and the tech entrepreneurship in impactful topics, is our let's say is all of the group's topics. So there is different topics, as you can see in Slack, etc. So you know that there is different groups, and especially, of course, you're free to join every group where you think your input makes sense, and either in an active part or in a listening part. Of course, you can do that. And if you have contributions regarding, let's say, input in the objectives that I mentioned, just let us know, either on Slack, or you do your comments directly, like Elke did, by the way, in Notion. And so we discuss it and integrate them, etc., etc. So of course, we can also chat one by one just how to, let's say, phase your input into our group.
All right, very well. Thank you very much. And in fact, I joined here together with Stephanie, who I see on the right now. I don't know where you see her. She's waving right now, because she's responsible for our marketing in the Founder Institute, and we just want to do this not very visible climate impact entrepreneurial education a lot more visible. And what we want to do, and I will paste that, so I'll put that in a group, is to do events where we invite tech guys, tech people, to so basically engineers, and partner with universities and invite them to join and become like impact entrepreneurs. So, but that's in short, because I don't want to crash the meeting here, because it's a Scrum and not not about discussing in detail new topics.
Thank you, Kai. I think that what you're proposing is something we could discuss at the end of the meeting.
Very good.
Once we've gone through the other groups. And if we don't have time, I'm happy to hop on another meeting in the next couple of days to build on what you proposed.
Thank you.
Matthias, you also raised your hand.
Yeah, I think hi, first of all, I'm Matthias. I'm part of Cobiome, so I'm responsible for the marketing there. And when I joined them and worked for Cobiome over the last couple of months, I had some really itching pain points, especially regarding market research, insight data. So how many companies in Germany are we talking about? What are they?
Matthias, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does this refer directly to the concerns of group number one?
I think, because this is the question, René, going directly to you. Is it like you said, like, I think in the third part, you said you created the personas. I was just wondering, bidding on what? So what was the input data here? I'm just curious to learn how this was based on.
Yeah, basically it was based on the feedback that we got from the group and from the group parts, and of course many of them, like for instance Bettina, is around for a long time in that sector. But on the other hand, of course, if you have any reference materials building a more concrete view on the personas and active profiles, that would be helpful. I've got also a lot of research work at hand from the last, let's say, 2 years, where I was working very closely, for instance, with Fineo together. But of course, if you have newer materials, or as you said, you were just setting it up, feed it in and we try to process it. The active profiles and personas are really necessary, because if we want to address let's say, the concerns of these different groups in the right way, and to find, let's say, campaigns for addressing them. It's necessary to start with these personas to understand our the ecosystem fully.
Okay, cool.
So I think that's a beautiful example of why we do this here, because now, Matthias, you have an opportunity to contribute towards group number 1, which you otherwise wouldn't have had. So didn't want to interrupt you, but I think this is worth highlighting. This is one of the core reasons why we do this here.
Matthias, you can just send me a Slack message one by one, and then we try to integrate it if you have any ideas.
I just put together a small deck regarding where I would suggest doing some market research. Like, I mean, I'm coming from an agency side. I've been working with Germany's biggest media agency, so I've done market research for many companies over the last years, and I think that's very paramount, just as to have something valuable to start off, because we don't have something like that in Germany. I haven't seen it. If you have it available, I haven't seen anything, and I've been looking for it for a couple of months now, and I've been talking to many people, and I'm, as I said, I work with market research institutes, and I already talked to one, and we developed some quantitative segmentation combined with qualitative insights to have something really to build on. But Thomas told me, let's wait for that for the end of the session, in the open session, so I don't want to interrupt the structure here, so we can keep it until the end of the session.
I just got an idea, because there is, I think, that also matters for, I think, group 2, which is collaboration. No, group 3 is collaboration. Probably, Thomas, how do you think, or probably put it in the backlog to be discussed later on, it could make sense to have a kind of document repository, data repository, where we can all work on and derive input for our groups from. And that could be something which is relevant for having an own, let's say, part within the Gita DE, Gita Germany structure in Notion.
So setting up a shared repository. I think this falls straight into Lihi's favorite topics, right? I took notes.
Just mention quickly that in the structuring of Gita Global, we have a lot of information. So Matthias, to your question, we actually have a pretty good research on types and personas. And so this goes to all the groups, but I think, we can talk about afterwards how we share all the resources that we have and make it available to all the groups, so our work is, everyone's work is more effective and useful.
So Lihi and I talked about that briefly this morning. So we will propose a way of providing access to that, and also providing a way to contribute to what's that. Okay, so if I see correctly, group number 2, that's Claire, right? Ben is not here.
Yeah,
Yes.
Ben's away, so I'll jump in for group number 2.
Wonderful.
A lot of similar themes that Renee mentioned as well, kind of overlap for our group as well. Since the last Scrum, we've been working on developing a bit more of a clear direction, a bit more structure as well, and have put our OKRs now into Notion. We've managed to set up a weekly call now, Wednesdays, 5 p.m. So anyone who wants to join that, of course, just let us know. We can add you on to the invite.
Just briefly, would you mind, if there's anything to show, also to share your screen?
Sure, one moment. In a second. Oh. I'm lost here.
Oh, too many windows.
See my screen?
Yes.
Exactly. You can see my screen?
Yeah.
Great. So we have, this is group 2's overview page. We have, we've put in a bit of a project overview here, just to kind of try and identify some of the problem statements that we were addressing from Impact Tech startup point of view, and also from an Impact Tech VC point of view. And then some of the broad solutions that we had also proposed. So things on the problem side, like this is for impact measurement, obviously, group number 2. So looking at the variety of frameworks and how kind of overwhelming or confusing that might be, lack of directional clarity in the sector. And from an Impact Tech VC point of view, this struggle to assess the impact potential of early stage impact tech startups, and these broad solutions that we were looking at as well. So trying to assess the impact criteria that investors look at, how can we create perhaps a reference resource of existing frameworks and impact measurement tools already out there. And then down the bottom here, we've put a members list. We didn't have editing rights as yet, but when the group has editing rights, then they can put in their details there as well. So going back to OKRs, these are our sort of 3 main objectives. So as I was talking about, building this reference resources map of existing impact measurement management frameworks, etc. Looking at deep dive qualitative interviews with impact tech VCs to gain an understanding of what impact criteria they look at when evaluating early stage impact startups. And then 3, putting this criteria into some sort of tool that these startups can then use to assess their own impact potential at early stage. Very brief overview. And we've also added all our all our meeting notes in here as well, as a kind of brief reference to what's been happening. So that's a very quick rundown of what we've done so far. And next steps, we managed to agree that instead of trying to divide our attention on all 3, perhaps we'd focus a little bit more on one objective for the next few weeks so that we could move forward and perhaps try and have some of those achievable. So we have set on objective 2. So we're going to dedicate our time as a group to performing some of these deep dive qualitative interviews with impact tech VCs, and perhaps a bit more of a broad survey of the market, also to get some feedback on what kind of criteria they look at when they're measuring impact for impact startups. So that was the overall kind of achievements where we're at. Next steps will be that for the next few weeks. In terms of blockers, on the technical side, I suppose, we didn't all have access to Notion, so that made the collaboration side on Notion a little bit difficult over the last couple of weeks. And on a more general note, a lot of the things that Renee had mentioned, but we had different members in every group call, so it sometimes lacked a bit of continuity to be able to agree on things or move forward with certain agreements or next steps. And I think they were the kind of main blockers, although I think we made in the last call a bit more progress on both of them. But Lihi, did I maybe missing anything? Is there anything you would add?
One thing I would add, and maybe we can show the group, is the Google Sheet that really maps out all the measurement techniques that we found, which I thought is super useful and maybe useful for anyone else of the teams.
Yeah, I'll just pull that up 1 second.
And some super interesting conversations that were conducted with people who actually created a lot of these matrices and standards, and the slowly going towards something we all can agree on, I thought was very interesting and really what we're hoping to do here with this exercise.
Yeah, exactly. So we had a few kind of guest member speakers who shared their experience with building frameworks as well, which has been really, really helpful. And there's a lot of members of the group who have had a lot of really relevant experience with these things. So that's been great input. This is the sheet here. So at the moment, it's more of a information dump. We still have to sort through these, and we've added a lot of kind of relevant filter criteria that we can start to process these by. But I think it's it's a good start, and hopefully it can help to inform something later on in the group. I think that's the main points from me.
Okay.
Claire, may I just briefly ask you, is this going to be a document also to be saved under this new research file or folder? Because there may be the one or other name, I only had a very brief look, that I may be able to add.
Yes, of course, that would be great. And anyone who has experienced it with this or any other frameworks, metrics, rating systems, feel free to add them in there. So the link to this spreadsheet is actually in our Notion page. I'll just show you very quickly where it is so that everyone knows.
Thanks.
One moment. So here in group number 2, and if you go into our OKRs under this kind of mapping OKR, the first one here, you can see impact measurement processes, and then we'll link to the Google Doc. That's as far as we've got. Hopefully we can integrate it in the future, but that's a quick kind of access for the moment.
Okay. So the technical issue with Notion is definitely on my shoulders and my bad. But it was very hard for me to really get my head around this in the last couple of weeks, because I was in a little boat with my son somewhere. So I had to try and do that on the cell phone somewhere on the water, which didn't work out too well. So I will take care of this now and hope to solve it very quickly. Regarding the your team blockers, I would like to learn a little bit more about it, because I had the sense that is something that could easily be solved, and actually would like to propose something later in general as an idea for all teams that might help work with that. Is there anybody else from the group here who also wants to share, or Claire, do you have to? Can you share a little bit more of what the problems were in the team?
I think it was more that just every call we had new members coming in, and maybe this is partly summer holidays as well, people being away. Mm-hmm. So we did spend a lot of time on the introductory element, understanding people's backgrounds, experience, and how they were relevant for the group. Which was great, and as you mentioned in the last Scrum, that's also really necessary for the work that we're doing to kind of build that team environment and understand where everyone has a kind of strength that they can input. But because of availability or for any other reason, the last kind of 4 calls we did, there was maybe 1 or 2 members that were on all of those calls, and then otherwise there was quite a high rotation of other members.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'll go into some ideas later after the next group regarding this specific topic. There's a question to all of us here now that came to my mind while you were describing that you had very inspiring conversations with other people. My guess is that they were on a similar medium, like here in some video call, and here we're recording this, and in this sense of transparency, that's why we're recording it here, but also in the sense of documentation for later use for other groups, etc. Maybe that's an idea worth considering when you have these conversations, also in meetings, by the way, to just record them. And if we decide to do that, we could also decide that we put them into some common space to share in some way. So I just want to put that out there as a point of discussion for later. Any other thoughts on what Claire shared? Feedback, support? All right, not yet. So let's move on to group number 3, collaboration. Who feels responsible to share what happened in that group? Now, Elke is in there, Kai is in there.
So maybe I can give a little overview.
That would be amazing.
So our captains are Mehmet and Julia, and I discussed with them this group blocker of how can we get to work together. And so I think relating to the summer times, it's a little bit difficult to find all these meetings and spaces where we can talk together. And finally, we have on this Thursday a group meeting scheduled where we will discuss with all meeting members how we can process, and we have a proposal to start with 3 groups, and that we will discuss on Thursday. And then we have the group structure, and then we have an idea how to start the group work. And I'm very hopeful that we can start very good with the main work.
Okay, so I take from that that's due to the summer blocker, not much happened.
I suppose so, yes.
Which is a bit ironic in the collaboration group.
Yes.
But
summertime and the living is easy.
All right. Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a good bridge into what I also proposed for group 2. I think group 1 is doing amazing progress. I'm really impressed. I was thinking that maybe a more structured framework around how groups organize themselves could be useful. Again, I don't want to impose that. I'm just offering it. And what I want to offer is that we can try and use a modification of the design sprint. Maybe who is familiar with the design sprint? Anybody? It's an idea that came out of Google Ventures. It's not only Google Ventures, but they were the first to formulate it in specific terms. That is very strong in product development. And the reason why it's strong is that with every iteration of a sprint, so you iterate over many sprints towards that product, but with every iteration, you remove assumptions and turn them into knowledge. So essentially, you have some broad vision, your objective, and you have a bunch of assumptions of how to get there. And with each sprint, you find ways of validating or invalidating at least one assumption in a very structured way. So there's a process, but there's also a social layer on top of this, mainly in the role of the lead. So the lead is in a sprint is called the decider. So the team tries to come to a consensus, but whenever that does not work, then the decider or the lead has the power to make a decision, and then this team has to stick with it. The logic behind that is that in exploration, which is another term for product development, rate of learning trumps being right. So we try and have these long conversations and try to figure out whether we're right. We will probably never have a grip on all of the arguments that can potentially sway us in either direction. Instead, what we do, we make a decision, we go and we see if we trip. And if we trip, we can just make a new decision. So acceleration of the rate of learning usually is a key measure for success. And the design sprint is a great tool to put that into a structured format. So the offer is, and any team can approach me to do that. The offer is to find an adaptation of the design sprint for your needs of that team in order to move ahead at higher speed. So that's, again, proposal, come to me, and then we can do that. We will record it if it happens, that conversation, so other teams can build on that. Okay. I think, did we miss any blockers that we should be talking about? So I talked at length now about the flow of work, the summer blocker, the Notion blocker is on my side. Yes?
You got some idea regarding recording our conversation sessions in the group, etc. For instance, I use Gmeet due to the fact that I use Google G Suite. So it's nice to have some tool like Zoom or so, where recording is easy. You can also do this with G Suite, but only if you have an enterprise account. And I don't have an enterprise account. So, and there is, again, the discussion of a Gita paid, or let's say owned tool set. So an account, a Notion account, the standard version of Slack, for instance, for integrating bots, and Zoom, etc., to distribute this amongst the members. Because if we have some kind of tool set access, and this does not work, we cannot use the full set of tools. And that is I think, a blocker, and we need to discuss this.
Lihi, do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Zoom, first of all, you're absolutely right. So anything, if there is any technical issues with Slack or with Notion that need to be paid, then please let us know, and we'll provide that. Regarding Zoom, currently, we have a couple of accounts. Please use them. And I think the best way to do that, if you guys don't mind, is just reach out to me, tell me your meeting, and I'll just set it up for you so that you have unlimited time. It's until 100 people, so I hope that's okay. That's the accounts we have right now. And please feel free to contact me, and we'll set it up, and we'll do recurring meetings, so we don't have to worry about that.
So I can offer the same, but beyond that, I think on a structural level, we've spoken with Notion, and Notion will give us a full account once we can present to them that we're a non-profit organization. So Lihi is in the process of setting that up in Israel. Once we have that, we will speak with the guys at Notion, and then we can also. I know the guys over at Google are also very open to helping nonprofits. So I'm pretty sure that we can get some of those tools for free. Currently, I'm paying a little bit for that Notion account. Maybe it's not enough. I don't know. So maybe I'm going to pay some more. So that's to solve that problem once I figured out what's going on there. That is totally valid, René. Until we have that nonprofit, the only other way to really solve that with these tools would be to put together a bunch of money. That would require us, all of us, to put some money into a bucket that we can then use to buy these tools. I'm totally open for that. I just don't want to force anybody at the moment to pay for that kind of stuff.
I think to come back to my point, it's I think at least for me, the tool set right now with Notion, at least for me, is okay because I have access to it. I can create objects, I can create pages, so there is no rub with Notion at that point in time. There is also no problem with Slack. The only thing is that if we want to use the video conferencing and recording sessions there as another tool, then it's necessary to have that. And Lihi now says that there is a bunch of accounts that can be distributed for, let's say, at least the group leads for setting up those kinds of meetings, then this is sufficient for me. I was just pointing out that we all need a kind of same standard set of tools. And at least in the video conferencing part, this was not the case.
Okay. We're paying some money to Google for the G Suite, but I don't think it's enterprise. So it's not enough.
Nobody has, and usually only larger corporates.
Google has enterprise.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Yeah, and if there's any issues, René or anyone else regarding this issue, yeah, we have a small account on G Suite, Zoom. We have just a basic infrastructure. If there's something that we don't have, and you guys from your experience suggest that we should have as a community, absolutely let us know, and we'll do that.
Okay, so before we open it to the open space, I would like to ask one more time, is there anything you would like to contribute towards the groups and the presentations you heard? Because if not, then I'd like to open it for just an open conversation to build on what Matthias was saying earlier, what Kai and Stephanie want to talk about, and whatever else is on your minds regarding Gita. Hi, you opened your microphone. Go ahead.
All right. So, hi again. Thank you very much. Most of you might not be 100% familiar with what we're doing and what I'm doing. And as I said in the beginning, I'm not 100% sure like in which group this fits, because there's a lot about collaboration, but it's also like a lot about, okay, making the whole impact mainstream, you know, and so just a few words that you know what I'm talking about. I'm a founder myself, and I'm working with different accelerators and as a mentor and business angel for years now, and the goal was, and it was difficult to reach, is to spread the idea in a sort of scalable way and not only one-on-one. That's why I'm doing this. Otherwise, I could yet again create a company, which I did before, to spread the idea of sustainable entrepreneurship. And now it took some time, of course, and that's probably natural that the time has to come, and it wasn't ready yet like 4 or 5 years ago when I started that. And now we have a zebra movement, for example, which is one of the topics in collaboration. What is this zebra movement? Entrepreneurs that are not going to become a unicorn, but want to collaborate in a way that is really sustainable from all aspects, and not only one very specific topic that they're working on. That's the whole setting that we have. And in my opinion, in my experience, in the last, let's say, 12 to 18 months, not much longer than that, most young people that start their entrepreneur career are on a say at least reasonable, have at least reasonable vision and are on a mission which is not very, very closely connected to maximum scalability and maximum return, right? So that's the whole setting we're in. And a year ago, we set up the climate impact track within an existing organization called the Founder Institute, which has not been about impact so far, but the whole Founder Institute is turning that way. And by doing this within the Berlin batch, of course, we're influencing the whole system, which is worldwide. And I like the idea that we like put this virus in the whole organization. And there are very specific questions, like, for example, I want to get engineers, I want to get tech know-how and tech IP in this entrepreneurship program, and to combine the tech mindset and the entrepreneurship mindset. So I need help. We're setting up a new batch. We're setting up an event together with TU Berlin. I'll write this down here on 24th of August. So it's 1 month till then. And I want just to have the word spread. This is the easy thing. This is the very straightforward thing. And then, of course, we can think about setting up this whole setting in a way that it's more than just a few entrepreneurs that we're educating. And I'm open to open up really new channels here and get super early stage, so idea stage entrepreneurs onboarded to this whole idea and movement of tech for impact. So that's basically an introduction. And yeah, we joined with Stephanie together because she hadn't been there in the last meeting. I thought that would be super interesting just to see who you are and to get to know to each other. And it's only because Stephanie is here that we can think about marketing, because we're just doing our operations and nobody knew us before someone came who knows a little bit about marketing and public relations and communication to the outside world. So basically we're setting up our own communication strategy right now, and I want just closely connect this to what we're doing in Gita. So that's a little bit of introduction, and maybe I can get some feedback, especially just on the next steps, how I can work, how we can introduce this entrepreneurship education if other organizations are already joining the Gita, because there's so many out there, and in accelerators, entrepreneurial education, all that stuff.
May I just very briefly ask you, how do you differentiate yourself against, compared to other accelerator programs? There are, as you are well aware, I guess better than me, you in Germany. Just to name one, the Tech Quartier based in Frankfurt. I'm located close to Frankfurt.
Okay.
Targeting green tech firms. The core sponsors, they have now discovered that sustainable finance is quite an important topic, right? So there are various boot camps all around tech companies. So what is different in your case?
Yeah, I think it's quite easy to explain with the Founder Institute. And then as my personal case, but that's two things.
So why should I apply as a tech and impact-minded entrepreneur your program and not go to the Tech Quartier in Frankfurt?
Yeah, absolutely. So the stage, there are different criteria. One of which is the stage. So a Founder Institute is idea stage. So you can go there with only idea, without team, without company, without experience, if you wish.
Yes.
That's one thing. There's a test, and that's the admission. So there's not an assessment of the idea, it's an assessment of the person applying for the Founder Institute. That's the one thing, that's sort of the admission. The other point where the Founder Institute is quite different from other accelerators is the format. So it's a 3.5 months program where you have the full circle of entrepreneurship education in weekly sessions where the founders meet mentors, which are almost all of them entrepreneurs themselves, except some of some experts from legal, for example. They may be lawyers, but it's always great to hear from experienced founders what they encountered in this topic. And in order to go through the Founder Institute, you need to deliver. So to put it in one sentence, why I like this thing, because I joined as a mentor before, is Founder Institute is the only accelerator I know that is at least simulating the reality of an entrepreneur. It's not a feel-good environment. It's you have to deliver, and if you don't deliver, you're out. So it's designed to take in a lot of founders and to graduate a lot less.
Okay, now it's clear. Thanks.
Thanks.
I have a question. Is there an overarching theory of change that you're following in the decisions around which startups you're taking on?
Not which startups we're taking on, but which contents which topics we cover, and which contents we teach. So the overarching topic in the climate track is that we give access to the meaning of sustainability. So, for example, the sustainability measurement, about the value of collaboration. By the way, the value of collaboration, the value of transparency is something which is in the core of the Founder Institute. So each company learns about that because it's within the system of the Founder Institute that the founders are working in groups with each other and not against each other. If they try to do it on their own, they will just fail. And that's the one thing. And also another point, which is completely different from all of the accelerators out there, each founder after this program has a very small share of each other founder's company, and which fosters collaboration.
Interesting. Okay.
Can I step in? I don't know if it helps you, but the way we kind of look at it, Gita, is that there's so many people finding interest in this world of how to do good, good business and impact and tech and impact and so on. And then there's the people who are actually working in it. And we kind of separate them conceptually as in our first tier, which are our practitioners, and then the second tier, which we call like migrants. So the migrants are learning about these topics, and from the initial excitement, what they need is the how, and not just to be excited, but to make sure that they are effective, that what they're doing is, as you say, measurable, and all the rest of the techniques that we're making sure that it's not just a gut instinct. And what I'm thinking is, within the groups we have now, we're looking at different kind of topics. And I think one of the issues we talk about is training in Gita, not so much in Gita Germany, like the working groups we have here. But if there is interest, we can open it to the entire Gita Germany community, perhaps, of opening something about impact tech training and sharing different kind of programs, both academic, non-academic, and accelerators around the world that are supporting entrepreneurs in their journey to become impact tech entrepreneurs. There are best practices, there are stuff that have worked and have failed, and it is really, I think, a good idea to find ways that we can collaborate among different kind of programs like yours.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, I feel it's a good opportunity to start exploring such a collaboration. So maybe that's out of scope for this conversation here, because it might take a little longer. But let's get together in the next couple of days and just try and have that first conversation.
Totally. Mm.
Cool.
Yeah, it's also a question about how. Let's get together. I would really love to, and a bit more about how. But we're all on Slack, and we discuss in our channels, right?
Yeah.
Good.
I'll reach out to you.
One thing though, I do want to mention. I'm sorry to jump in. Right now, I think we are keeping these working groups and Slack groups mostly for practitioners and not for any budding entrepreneur or someone with an idea. So just because there's so many that we would become overwhelmed. But we do want to find tools and solutions and information and training solutions for all these people. But before you invite, and that's for everyone, anyone to the Slack kind of conversations, take a think, and we trust your judgment if they can contribute also to the conversation. They have knowledge to contribute, or they just migrants who need information, and then we make sure that we're creating information for them. But our key objective with these groups is contributing with people who have experience and knowledge and want to share that, just for sheer scale, just because I get probably 5 to 7 emails or entrepreneurs or calls from entrepreneurs a day, looking to understand what. And so if I put all of them in, it would be impossible for us to do that. If as a group we decide to open it up, that's absolutely okay. But I'm just reiterating that.
Yeah, I agree. But Kai and I we will just organize some meeting. We will flesh it all out, and then I think we can go from there. I'm not sure, Matthias. I think you still had something to share. And before everybody starts dropping off and becoming tired, because we're on it at it for an hour now, I'd like to give you another opportunity.
Cool. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to talk about a topic that's very important for a marketing guy like me. So I, of course, prepared a little marketing deck I'd like to present to you guys. So this is around better B2B marketing insights, creating more impact. So this is really focusing on, impact can be in different kinds of areas. This is really focusing on the business world. So as I said, I'm the guy responsible for marketing, and what I learned over my 15 years in the agency, there needs to be a proper process, and the processes always starts with strategy, with tactics, and the analogy I always use is first the trousers, then the pants, the shoes, otherwise you will stumble. So talking about a lot of solutions we create, and also in my past, before understanding what the market really needs. So the approach here is really to join forces to better understand the market, create impact at scale. So why is that, or what is that around? I think we do not really know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I really looked for it hard, and I'm talking about the German market. Where does the market stand? And when I talk about the market, I mean companies in Germany. What are the needs of the market in terms of they are on different stages of their sustainability transformation journey? What impact solutions need to be developed for them to help them? And in the end, important for an investor, where do you get the biggest bang for the buck? So important for me, because I have that experience many times. We have decision makers and they think, we create something fancy, and then you go out to send them on the street, talk to some people, and then they get slapped in the face because they developed something nobody's actually interested apart from themselves. So, and this is, so why is it important? And I don't want to bore you, but obviously this is also something we strongly believe as Quine, that the next decade will be the decade of the sustainability transformation. So this is a small sneak from our new website I'm also currently helping to develop. So just some milestones over the next couple of years. And what I really realized is, it's not like there's one industry that is in particular affected by that. It's all of the industries, and no matter if you're really a small company or a big company. And that really got me thinking. I was thinking, so who's actually our target audience? How does the market look like? and how should we approach segmentation? And it seems to be trivial, but really like, this is some data coming from Statista. When you look at the data in terms of the company size in Germany, so it's basically 3.5 million companies in Germany. And I'd like to exclude the very small ones, the ones with up to 10 employees. They are still around, let's say, 500,000 left. So 300,000 small companies, and this is really company size in terms of employees, 64,000 medium and 50,000 large companies. And it sounds like an overwhelming numbers, and obviously it looks similar in other countries, down numbers, but I was really like, okay, is that really helpful? And really, I was wondering, how far are they in their transformation in terms of, are they a degenerative business? Is it like, have they started their first project, and so on and so on. So, and we got inspired by this. I think you have seen that one by Bill Reed. He's a guy from Regenesis, American architecture design bureau. So, and they basically have like, they say it's a spectrum. So on the very left, it's the degenerative business, which is doing harm to the environment, to the planet, to societies. And the more you go to the right, the better, if you want, it gets. But still, we're talking a lot about...
It was actually the first graphic we ever showed, because that was the opening graphic for the German chapter.
Okay, cool. So yeah, it's, I mean, it's an interesting topic because everyone talks about sustainability, and obviously that's not the end of the story. So, but the more you go to the right, obviously the more interesting it gets for and what we need in the end for, when talking about transformation. And we really got inspired by that, and we created something like, okay, we called them like, there must be like something like 5 segments. The degenerative business, some who just started their sustainability journey because there's coming some whatever pressure from the industry, or there are many different reasons why, like in the marketing world, you would say the category entry points. The reason why you start thinking of, you need to do something. And there's some companies who have done some first initiatives and then are the sustainability leaders, and a very few regenerative front runners, if you call it. So you have like the small, medium, and large companies, and you have the steps. And then I got to this grid, and it's still an empty grid because there are no numbers. There are no numbers. Nobody can tell you. Maybe you can, but I really looked hard. All of the work that the Big Four have done, like in whatever you can do research, there is no numbers really behind in terms of how many of them fall into the particular segment and what's the value behind it. Because obviously, if you want to provide a B2B solution to one of those clients, you need to have an idea how many, for example, if you look like the ones who are starting the sustainability journey in large companies, how much are they willing to spend in that segment? And actually, you have to do something like that for each and every grid segment to get an idea where to focus the energy. Because this is like in marketing strategy, you start with a description of the market. That's basically what I'm trying to do here. Then the first really strategy work is do targeting, because you can't do each and every one of them at the same time. It's even a large company couldn't do it. You need to focus your energy, and by the way, you kind of develop your own positioning for each and every segment in the end. So, and the thing is really like, and this is why I'm here in this group, and I hope you're the right guys to talk to, because it's relevant for all of us to understand and have an understanding. Is it rather large companies? How many of the regenerative leaders are they? Is it really like the ones who just starting their sustainability journey? Because in the end, it's important, like with the good segmentation, you not only have that kind of good description of a segment, but they're also actionable. You can identify them, you can reach them, you can develop something individual for each and every segment. And then probably it's like you focus on 3 segments, you have a proper understanding, you know how to identify them, and then you go out and start having Thomas.
I have a hunch and a suggestion. So the hunch, why you're having a hard time to finding numbers is because nobody knows what the hell a regenerative world looks like. So you cannot count what you don't know. And it's probably not so much the case because we are lacking the imagination. It's also not so much the case that we're lacking the technology. It's more the problem that we're lacking the courage, because regenerative economy will look so vastly different from what we're doing right now that everybody who's part of the current system is extremely scared of even thinking about it. So building on that, the suggestion could be that there could be a group inside of Gita that tries to come up with those types of scenarios for what a regenerative economy actually looks like, which would give us the foundation to be able to talk about, are we actually moving in the right direction or not? So that's just an idea.
Lee.
I'm looking at your empty slide, and I want to take you down the journey I went through, which I think is when I've been hired to create these kind of databases, and found the main obstacle is that we don't yet agree on a lot of the definitions. So when you say sustainable and I say sustainable, and when you say regenerative and I say regenerative, especially organizations that have created concepts and invented them, and then another organization created another one and uses that definition, and all out of goodwill, but we don't have a place to actually collaborate and agree on what we mean when we say these things, which is one of the reasons we wanted Cecilia and I to create Gita, to have this place where at least all us practitioners can say, this is what we mean. And then it's much easier to create these market landscapes and to analyze. But until we have this bottom-up kind of standard, not someone will decide that this is what sustainability means, but that us as practitioners will agree on it, it's very difficult to do these mappings. So I think, and once you do have that, you can integrate these analyses into existing databases, into existing statistics references, which I've also have done quite easily with a simple tool. But you first have to have a basic consensus of what we mean. For instance, you can say, I'm looking at your graph, and you can say if a company is, it's a project company and they do solar farms all over the world. Are they regenerative? Are they sustainable? Are they, how do we decide? Is it also how they hire people and how they do their operations, and all the questions that we essentially have, which goes back to Thomas's question. We don't actually, on the far right, we don't actually have a model of like, this is how the best case scenario looks like. And even in the middle or anyway, we have to kind of agree. So I think one of the things that would be great is to have this conversation and find a way where we can, as kind of building on Thomas, to say what is it that we mean when we say these things, and then all of us in our own organizations and our companies and whatever start accepting these standards, and then we can perhaps move forward.
Yeah, I'm hearing you. Still, the idea was to say, like, obviously there are different kinds of definitions, and I think if you do scientific work, it's the first thing you do. You define what you're talking about. True, I agree. But really, for me, the question was, can we still use it, and can we work together with the market research company? And because that's basically what I did. So I went to a market research company I'm familiar with, I worked with, and talked about that with them for some hours.
Matthias, that won't work. What we're about here is we're about to live in the future and build what's missing. A market research company will never be able to answer any of these questions. They are looking behind. They're looking into the past. They're analyzing the extrapolations of people like us 50 years ago. So it is up to us to define our moonshot, to do the JFK and say, okay, let's go to the moon and let's and come back. And just before Kai, I just want to say put one more image into your minds. I'm sorry, but one such thing that could be a driver that I love, that I don't necessarily 100% believe or want, but that could be a really good image is, what if humanity becomes a seafaring species? What if we all, 10 billion people, move out onto the ocean? Let that sink in for a while.
Oh,
Ocean. There's a whole bunch of interesting stuff happening already in that direction. Adding these types of constraints adds the absolute necessary force of being sustainable and self-sufficient. And that puts you in an entirely different state of mind. Plus, it gives you ample opportunity to build products and new materials that are required to pull this off. So this is just an image, right? But now I'll shut up. Kai.
Sorry, no, I did not.
I thought you wanted to say something. Sorry.
No, I just listened actively.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard that kind of constraints very often, and I also talked about with them how should you. And obviously, it can't be just a snapshot, but you have to do something where you can project in the future or talk to the kind of people again to have a recontact study to follow some development. In the end, and it's still, I think, regarding the transformational efforts of the corporate landscape in Germany, we're still at the very beginning. And to have at least an understanding where they are right now is more than we have at the moment, because we have nothing. So, and nobody can tell you at the moment, like how many companies have done it already. And this is what market research is for. And even like all the big companies.
Have done what exactly?
Whatever, and this is also for definition. I also taught them, look, this is like how we said, like how the different kind of steps on the journey could look like. It's not set in stone. You need to talk to identify the right decision makers in the company. You talk to them, and then you will create out of that, you will create a segments based on real market feedback. If you say like you have like representative market research already done, or it's coming from somewhere, then cool, but I just haven't seen anything about it.
But what are the questions? What are the questions you would ask?
I mean, it's what I call a multi-purpose segmentation.
But what's the question? What do you want to know?
I want to find out where they stand at the moment, what they have planned in the future, what they're up. So the one thing is a quantitative segmentation. The other one is obviously you need to create qualitative insights. So what are the roles and backgrounds of decision makers? What is their job in the company? Where are they coming? Is it like, do they have an education in that? Or are they coming from what we realized when talking to potential clients? So someone who was responsible for innovation is now like the innovation and sustainability guy, because sustainability needs to have something in common with innovation. So, and who are the relevant stakeholders? What are the pain points in terms of achieving or fulfilling the role in the company, driving your company forward? Again, that's about the corporate landscape in Germany. And then bringing it together, it would like, it makes sense, and it makes sense many times in the past to create something for the future, to combine a quantitative market segmentation with qualitative insights to find out how does the market, it's a description of the situation of the moment. And then like look into the individual market segments. I'm not so much a friend of a persona, because a persona is very personal. I don't need a name. I mean, obviously segment is internally homogeneous, externally heterogeneous. So it needs common traits, common characteristic, what makes them kind of similar. So do we have that here? So there's a lot of things we just don't know. So, and this is what I'm saying, work with someone who's experienced in that. And I think that's like, the idea was to say, like, Gita, obviously, together with Interrogare as one of the partners, not necessarily the one. They have loads of experience in that area. We've done with them before. And the idea would, and you asked for that, multi-purpose segmentation is like puts many different variables inside, like the obvious ones like firmographics, the expertise, the attitudes towards, obviously it's not product use in this case, but there we can create that. So, and this is stuff I already created. I have a deck, it's like 60 slides long, it goes into detail how we would approach them. As said, I've talked to that guys. And what I'm looking for at the moment, because obviously, as said, I'm from Kobai and we are a startup ourselves, we cannot afford it because it's like, it's a target audience that's very hard to get. So then recruiting them is very difficult. I worked for Dell a couple of years and I know how difficult it is to get an IT decision maker, and it's even more difficult to get a sustainability decision maker. And all their, like, also them, it's probably the half-day mom who's now also responsible to identify the carbon footprint of the company. I've heard that already a couple of times. Then you have some sustainability manager, and then you have some C-level guy, however. It's very diversified, very fragmented. And again, we have no clue about that market in Germany. At least I don't. At least based on the data I have seen so far, there is no proper data. And that was the idea to work on something like that, to make it available to the whole community, to reduce the risks for creating whatever solution to get, obviously there is something like a zeitgeist market fit already, but what we need to work is on the product market fit, create valuable insights, also how to pitch and sell solutions. That's what I'm doing. I'm coming from marketing side. So I'm working continuously on different kind of pitch decks for startups, how to sell their stories and how does it resonate? What is this? What is the needs? What are the needs of decision makers here? And obviously it's also a marketing opportunity for Gita itself. So nobody has done it before. Normally that would be a job for McKinsey and the likes and Accenture, but it would cost probably 2 or 3 times that amount of money I've shown you. And that was the idea I wanted to propose here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will need some
feedback.
time.
I already heard some feedback. Is there any other feedback? How valuable do you think it is? Or what were your objections? I would be really interested to hear it, apart from what Thomas already said. So thanks for that. It's always, I mean, obviously it's like you pitch something and then you need to defend whatever you pitch. Anyone? Bettina, what do you think?
Well, in an ideal world, it would be great to have these sort of data. In fact, I was just thinking, what, 30 years ago, when I started in, well, sorry to say, investment banking, yeah? Nobody knew what acquisition leverage finance was all about. We did exactly the same, we tried to get data. It was very difficult. We had to go abroad because Germany couldn't even spell leverage finance and mezzanine. So we wanted to know where are our target groups, et cetera, right? And in order, at the end of the day, obviously, to make transactions, to carry out loan financings, etc. And at the end of the day, it took a lot of time and energy and frustration and everything else. And the decision makers, I think that is a point where I agree with you. Yes, Thomas, and I'm fairly new to the Scrum methodology and the Gita concept, and we have to fly to the moon, yes, but in order to get the impact tech ecosystem up and running in Germany, you need financing, and that's more or less my expertise. And the finance guys, they like numbers. You have to present them a vision, yes, but they also like, Matthias to present to them, right? So the ecosystem at this moment in time in Germany looks like this. You're positioned like that. You could improve your positioning, for instance, by investing in this terribly attractive tech VC company, right? So they are still number driven, you know. So I think, you know, it's, you know, it would be lovely to fill out this slide, you know, this blank slide. But on the other hand, I agree with Leah, there are so many different, you know, whomever I talk to, impact measurement systems. Others they do their own. Others say sort of hitchhike on another family office's definition. Then the big institutions, they have so-called proprietary measurement systems. So they're all not really comparable, you know. So it's, you know, I think it would be perfect to have those numbers, plus have, you know, everybody on Thomas's road of, yes, we have to go to the moon, the sooner the better, or the ocean, as I learned today.
So thank you very much. I'd like to start bringing it to an end for today. Yes. Not to stop that conversation, just I want to be very clear about that, because I think that exactly this discussion cuts to the very core of what we're doing here. Having that discussion in a challenging intellectual manner towards having a framework to get these types of numbers that you're talking about, Bettina, because I of course, they're not only still looking for numbers, they will look for numbers as long as there's money, right? So, right. So we will have to provide those numbers. But I think we need to have a very, very intense conversation around this. And this is why I proposed as a suggestion to form a group around that, to define what that regenerative endpoint that we believe in actually is, and then have a framework which we can fill.
Thomas, just very briefly, I doubt that anybody in our group would be able, or even if we put all our efforts together, that we could define such a regenerative case. I think it would be very arrogant, in fact, very arrogant to define such a case. We're such, you know, only a few people. We talk about billions of people all around the world, different countries, different cultural backgrounds, etc., etc. You know, to define it, I think it's
for us, because whatever we measure, whenever we want to put a number,
you have to have a benchmark.
We have to have a benchmark. This is not like the top-down definition. Okay, this is the world everybody has to live in. Okay. No, this is the world we believe would be good. If somebody else comes up with a better plan, fine, right? That's not, we're not imposing anything, but we need to have something to measure against. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, it's difficult, and yeah, it's a monstrous task. But if we want to measure, if we want to have some sort of understanding of the direction we're going, then we need it. We definitely need it.
And the good thing is, once I'm supporting that fully, because once you have done it, we can do the segmentation, because then we don't have the problem anymore. I also need to go now. Sorry, guys.
Okay. So with that, thank you for that very lively discussion. I think it's very fruitful. We'll pick up on this. Kai and I will be in contact. Matthias, if you want to start working on that, or anybody else, please reach out. And I look forward to seeing you all again.
Cool.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Very insightful.